The officer stood behind the ambulance with rain dripping from the edge of his cap. I had seen the same face 20 minutes earlier in footage from a traffic stop recorded more than a decade before. Then again, in an apartment hallway. Then again, in an old news clip from before body cameras were even used in our department. Different years, different precincts, different incidents, but the officer never changed. He never spoke, never helped, never seemed surprised. On the last recording I reviewed, he finally turned toward the camera, and the badge on his chest showed the evidence number of the file I was watching. My name is Mara Ellison, and I worked as a digital evidence technician for the Metropolitan Police Evidence Center. Most people never think about what happens to police recordings after they are made. They imagine officers, detectives, courtrooms, maybe someone reviewing footage when a case gets serious. But every recording has to be received, checked, labeled, stored, copied, protected, and sometimes repaired. That was my job. I did not carry a badge. I did not interview suspects. I did not go to crime scenes. I sat in a secured room behind police headquarters, wearing headphones, watching other people's worst nights play out on 2 monitors. The evidence center was a low concrete building attached to the main headquarters by a locked corridor. Inside, everything felt controlled. Card readers on every door, cameras in every hallway, quiet offices, windowless review rooms, server racks humming behind glass. Even the air felt filtered. Most of the work was ordinary. An officer uploaded a file under the wrong case. A dash camera time was off. Audio failed. A body camera turned on late. A report mentioned 3 responding officers, but only 2 cameras were submitted. Small problems. Human problems. The first time I noticed him, I was processing old footage from a traffic stop. The department was moving older recordings into a newer storage system, and my unit had been assigned to review batches of archived body camera files. The video quality was poor compared to modern cameras. The image shook whenever the officer moved. Rain blurred the lens. Headlights washed out half the frame. The stop itself was routine. A sedan pulled under an overpass. The driver sounded nervous, but cooperative. The officer asked basic questions. Backup arrived. Nothing escalated. Near the end, as the camera turned toward the stopped car, I saw another uniformed officer standing near a concrete pillar behind the vehicle. He was not close to the other officers. He was just standing there, half in shadow, looking toward the scene. I paused the footage. At first, I assumed he was backup, but the written report listed 2 responding officers, and both were visible beside the patrol cars. This man was not either of them. He wore an older-style uniform under a dark rain jacket. His posture was straight, almost formal. His face was partly hidden by the angle, but something about him felt out of place. Not dramatic, just wrong enough to notice. I tried to read his badge, but the rain and compression made it useless. I marked him as an unidentified officer visible in frame and moved on. That kind of note was not unusual. Officers from nearby units sometimes appeared at scenes without being central to the report. Sometimes names were left out. Sometimes a file did not match the paperwork perfectly. The job taught you not to become dramatic too quickly. 3 days later, I saw him again. This recording was from an apartment disturbance years after the traffic stop. Different camera model, different precinct, different side of the city. The footage showed 2 officers walking down a narrow hallway with dirty beige walls and buzzing ceiling lights. A woman was crying somewhere behind a door. The officers spoke quietly, trying to calm the situation before they knocked. At the far end of the hallway, beside the stairwell door, stood the same man. Same height, same face, same still posture. This time, the image was clearer. He was looking at the officers, not the apartment. His hands hung at his sides. His uniform looked clean but slightly old-fashioned, like it belonged to another year. I froze the frame and pulled up the report. 4 officers responded to the call. All 4 appeared later in the footage. All 4 were named. He was not one of them. I searched the personnel database for officers assigned to that precinct at the time. Nothing matched. I checked old ID photos, transfer lists, and retirement records. Still nothing. I told myself there were reasonable explanations. Maybe he was from another unit. Maybe the report was incomplete. Maybe I was seeing 2 similar men and connecting them because I had been staring at police footage for too many hours. That explanation lasted until the 3rd recording. It was a daytime accident response near a busy intersection. A cyclist had been struck by a delivery truck. The footage was loud with traffic, radio chatter, and people yelling from the sidewalk. Paramedics were working near the curb, officers were moving witnesses back, firefighters were blocking traffic. Behind the yellow tape, standing between the crowd and the police line, was the same officer. This time he was fully visible for almost 3 seconds. He did not move with the others. He did not speak to anyone. He simply watched the injured cyclist, calm and still, while everyone around him worked. I leaned closer to the monitor. The badge was still unreadable, but the face was not. I stopped the video and sat back in my chair. The room around me felt too quiet. The hum of the servers, the low air conditioning, the soft click of another technician's keyboard across the room. All of it suddenly sounded far away. There are moments in evidence work when your mind changes categories. At first, something is an error. Then it becomes a pattern. Then it becomes a problem. I started a private list, not an official report. Not yet. Just a plain document on my secure drive. I wrote only what I could defend. Unidentified uniformed officer visible in unrelated footage. Not listed in responding personnel. No matching record found. Same physical appearance. I did not use words like impossible. I did not write anything that sounded like a theory. I only wrote observations. Over the next week, I searched quietly. I checked personnel records, academy photos, memorial pages, commendation archives, misconduct files, transfer documents, and old internal newsletters. I looked for officers with similar faces. I looked for name changes. I looked for anyone who might have worked different precincts across different years. Nothing fit. The department was large, but people left records. Payroll, training, equipment assignments, complaints, medical leave, court appearances. A police career leaves a trail, whether the officer wants one or not. This man had no trail. I finally showed the footage to Daniel Price, our senior evidence technician. Daniel had worked in the building longer than anyone in our unit. Before that, he had been a patrol officer. He was not the kind of man who reacted strongly to anything. He could watch a corrupted file destroy 3 hours of work and only sigh. I showed him the hallway footage first. He watched it once, then again. "Who am I looking at?" he asked. "That's what I'm trying to find out." I showed him the traffic stop, then the accident response. Daniel did not speak for a while. He removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Is he in the reports?" "No." "Personnel record?" "No match." Daniel looked back at the frozen image of the officer behind the tape. Then he said something that made my skin tighten. "I think I saw him once." I waited. Daniel leaned back slowly, like the memory was something he did not want to touch. "Years ago, before I transferred here, we responded to a motel fire on the east side. Small fire, but heavy smoke. People were still inside. I remember seeing an officer near the parking lot carrying a girl toward the ambulance. Was it him?" Daniel stared at the monitor. "I don't know." But his voice had already answered. He told me the girl survived. He also told me nobody knew which officer carried her out. At the time, everyone assumed the confusion came from smoke, panic, too many units, and bad communication. "That happens," he said quietly. "Scenes get messy. Did you report it?" I asked around. "And?" He looked at me, and then I stopped asking. That should have made me stop too. Instead, it made me search older material. Body cameras only went back so far. Before that, we had dash cameras, station cameras, news footage, and scanned media tied to major cases. Most of it was not part of my normal queue, but I knew where to look. I found him in a local news recording from decades earlier. It was footage from a courthouse shooting, copied from an old broadcast, and stored as part of a closed case. The image was grainy, the colors were faded. Reporters spoke over helicopter footage, and patrol cars filled the street. Near the courthouse steps, beside a cruiser, stood the officer. Same face, same posture, same age. I checked the date twice. The footage was older than I was. I watched the clip in a small review room after most of the unit had gone home. The monitor glow reflected off the black glass of the door. Outside, the evidence floor was almost empty. In the footage, people ran. Officers shouted. A paramedic crossed the frame. The unknown officer stood still. Then, for the first time, he looked directly toward a camera, not toward the officers near him, not toward the courthouse, toward the news camera, toward me. I know that sounds like imagination. I know old footage can make people look strange, but I have spent thousands of hours reviewing recordings. I know the difference between someone accidentally facing a lens and someone seeing it. He saw it. I exported the clearest stills from all 4 recordings and tried to identify his badge. Most frames were useless: rain, distance, glare, motion blur. But the news clip gave me enough shape to compare against the accident footage. The number was not clean, but part of it appeared in both. At first, I searched badge records again. No match. Then I searched old badge ranges. Nothing. Then I looked at the file label printed on the case folder beside my keyboard, and I understood why the number looked familiar. It was not formatted like a personnel badge. It was formatted like an evidence tag. Every recording in our system had one. Every file, every clip, every copied piece of media was assigned a number so it could be tracked. I opened the traffic stop file. I checked its evidence tag. Then I zoomed in on the badge in the recording. The visible digits matched. I opened the apartment hallway file. Same thing. The accident response. Same thing. The courthouse footage. Same thing. The number on his badge was different in every recording. Each time, it matched the evidence number of the file where he appeared. I sat there for a long time, not moving. The room suddenly felt less like a workplace and more like a place where something had been stored without anyone agreeing to store it. The next morning, I told Daniel. I expected him to tell me to file a report, or go home, or stop digging. Instead, he closed the office door. "How many people know?" he asked. "Just you." He nodded, but he did not look relieved. "What is he?" I asked. Daniel looked older than he had the day before. "I don't know," he said. "But some records stay in the system because nobody knows where else to put them." That was the last thing he said about it. By that afternoon, a new file appeared in my review queue. There was no case officer listed, no supervisor note, no normal request chain. The title was simple: Unidentified Officer Review. My first thought was that Daniel had done it. My second was that someone in administration had noticed my searches. I opened the file. The video started in a hallway. For a few seconds, I did not understand what I was seeing. Then I recognized the gray walls, the security camera dome near the ceiling, the scratched metal edge of the door. It was the Metropolitan Police Evidence Center. Our building. The footage came from a body camera, but no officer's name was attached. The camera wearer walked past the secure intake desk, through the corridor, and toward the digital evidence unit. I heard the badge reader beep. I heard the door unlock. Then the camera entered our floor. My desk was visible at the far end. I was sitting there, not from years ago, not from an old recording, from that week. Same sweater, same coffee cup, same folder beside my keyboard. On the screen inside the video, I was watching the courthouse footage. I pulled off my headphones and turned around. The evidence floor behind me was quiet. Daniel's office door was closed. 2 empty desks. 1 printer blinking red. No one standing near my chair. I looked back at the monitor. In the recording, behind the version of me sitting at my workstation, the unknown officer stood close enough to touch the back of my chair. He had never been that close in any other clip. He was not in the hallway, not across the street, not behind tape. He was inside the evidence center, standing behind me, looking down at the monitor. I could not breathe properly. My hands went cold on the keyboard. The officer in the recording slowly lifted his head. He looked directly into the body camera, directly at me. I paused the video. His badge was perfectly clear, not blurred by rain, not hidden by distance, not washed out by old film. The number matched the evidence tag of the file I was watching. The file showing me watching him. I resigned before the end of the month. Officially, it was stress. That was easier to explain and easier for the department to accept. Nobody argued. Daniel only shook my hand and told me to take care of myself. I never asked whether he watched the file after I left. I never asked whether my resignation became part of the record. Years have passed, and I still avoid police footage when it appears in the news. I do not pause body camera clips. I do not study the background of accident scenes. I do not look too closely at officers standing near ambulances, fires, or yellow tape. But sometimes a report comes on about someone found just in time, a child pulled from danger, a driver rescued seconds before the flames spread, a scene that should have ended worse than it did. And when that happens, I catch myself looking at the edge of the screen. Not because I want to see him, because I am afraid that someday, when he turns around, the number on his badge will belong to a recording that has not happened yet.